She was flipping pancakes when it happened, just collapsed. No warning, no sound, just dropped the spatula and hit the floor like someone cut her strings. My name's Dennis. I'm 56, and 3 months ago, I lost my wife, Marie, to a brain aneurysm. We'd been married 28 years. One second we were talking about the weather. She always hated muggy mornings. And the next, I was on my knees, giving her CPR while the skillet burned behind me. She never made it. I knew before the EMTs even touched her. A week after the funeral, I was still walking around in a fog. I hadn't shaved. I hadn't eaten anything that wasn't from a paper bag. I didn't want to be around people, didn't want to smile. But my daughter Vanessa said, "You have to come to Tessa's birthday. Mom would have gone." So I went. 5-year-old's party at Jolene's house, Marie's younger sister. Cluttered place, smelled like dollar store candles and reheated pizza. Kids running around, icing in their hair. I stood in the back with my coffee, just trying to breathe through it. That's when Jolene stood up in front of everyone. Bright red dress, too much makeup, smirking like she had a secret to sell. She tapped her wine glass. "Before we cut the cake, I just want to say something," she said. "Some of you know, some of you don't, but I think it's time the truth came out. Marie would have wanted that." People quieted. Vanessa looked up from her phone. My brother-in-law raised an eyebrow. Jolene smiled like she'd won something. "Tessa's not Rick's daughter," she said. "She's Dennis's. 5 years ago, Dennis and Marie had a thing, a secret thing, and Tessa came from that." You could hear the air leave the room. My cousin Kathy dropped her soda. Rick's brother muttered, "What the hell?" Jolene held up a folder. And Marie knew. She updated her will before she passed. She left half the house to Tessa to make things right. I didn't say anything at first. I just looked at her, at the pathetic little grin on her face, at the way her hand shook, just slightly, even though she was trying to stand tall. Vanessa's eyes were wide, locked on me like she was waiting for me to confess or explode or something. But I didn't do either. I smiled. Not because I believed her, hell no. I smiled because it was so damn false. It was actually funny. Marie and I had spent nearly 3 decades building a life brick by brick, and this woman thought she could bulldoze it with a party trick and a fake will. She had no idea what she'd stepped into. I walked straight over and said, "Let me see that will." She handed it over like she'd just served me the final blow. I flipped through it, didn't say a word, not yet. But while we're on the subject of Marie, let me tell you the real story, the truth, not the soap opera Jolene pulled out of thin air. I met Marie 30 years ago at a charity fundraiser for kids with special needs. I'd built a bench for the silent auction, cedar, hand-carved backrest, custom inlay. I remember watching this woman circle the table 3 times, pretending not to care. Then she bid on it, then again. By the 5th time, I walked over and said, "You can stop bidding. It's yours." She laughed. "What if I wanted a fair fight?" "Too late," I told her. "You already won." She worked as a speech therapist at an elementary school in Minneapolis. Sharp mind, big heart, dry sense of humor. We had our first date the next night. Italian place down the block. I ordered something with too much garlic and she didn't blink. We closed the place down. We were married a year later. Bought a 3-bedroom fixer-upper near St. Paul. Gutters rotted out, cracked foundation, ancient wiring. I was doing construction at the time, and she wasn't afraid to get dirty. She patched drywall, tore out cabinets, even helped rewire the garage with me. I still remember her standing on a ladder in paint-stained jeans, holding a stud finder and saying, "I found you." That was Marie. Always 2 steps ahead of me, even when she played it like a joke. We wanted kids, tried for years, 3 miscarriages, each one worse than the last. Then we looked at adoption. First agency dropped us for age concerns. Second one dragged us through a year of paperwork, then gave the baby to someone else at the last minute. That's when Marie sat me down in the living room, legs crossed under her, and said, "It's you and me, Den. We'll build our own kind of life." And we did. We traveled. Took road trips to national parks. Spent 2 weeks in Alaska one summer. We hosted Christmas every year. Big, noisy, full of food and people. We finished the house top to bottom. Built a deck, redid the kitchen, planted daffodils every spring along the fence. She pushed me to start my own shop. Said, "You're wasting your talent framing cookie cutter crap." So I took the leap, started with a single order for a neighbor's mudroom, then a kitchen island for a realtor, then custom shelving for a small boutique. Word spread. Within 2 years, I had a steady client base. Then came the referrals. The business took off. We weren't flashy. We didn't live in some mansion or post cute couple photos every weekend. But we were solid, quiet, kinda good. We knew how to fight without being cruel and how to love without showing off. So when Jolene stood there pretending Marie cheated and hid a secret kid from me for 5 years, that wasn't just a lie. It was an insult. I handed her back the will and said, "Thanks. We'll talk soon." Then I walked out of that party like a man with receipts waiting at home. I walked out of that house with the fake will in my hand, and Jolene's grin burning in the back of my skull. Thing is, Jolene was never far from the picture. She was Marie's little sister, 8 years younger, loud as hell, prettier in that flashy, overdone way. Spray tans, high heels at backyard barbecues, cleavage at Christmas, always bouncing between some new man or some new crisis. She was the kind of person who said, "I hate drama," right before setting a match to whatever piece was left in the room. We tolerated each other. She'd crack dirty jokes, call me Denny boy, wink too long. Marie would roll her eyes and mutter, "She's just like that." And I let it go. But Jolene was competitive, always had been. If Marie hosted Thanksgiving, Jolene had to throw New Year's. If Marie bought a new couch, Jolene suddenly needed one too. Better fabric, bigger price tag, even if she couldn't afford it. It was never enough for her just to be part of the family. She needed to one-up Marie at every turn. 5 years ago, she rolled up pregnant. No warning, no baby shower, just waddled into Sunday dinner one day with a belly and a story about her on-again, off-again boyfriend, Rick. Guy was useless. Worked construction for about 5 minutes, drank for the rest of it. Had a mean streak when he was loaded. He was in and out, mostly out. Marie, being Marie, stepped up. She babysat, dropped off casseroles, slipped Jolene gas money when her card got declined again. She even offered to help with daycare, said Tessa deserved better than the chaos she was born into. I kept my distance. I didn't like being around Rick, and Jolene wasn't exactly subtle. She'd linger when she hugged me, laugh too hard at nothing. Once I caught her staring at me while Marie was in the kitchen. I stared right back until she looked away. Looking back, I should have asked more questions. Should have noticed the way Marie's tone changed when she talked about her sister. Things were tense near the end, not shouting or fighting, but stiff. Short phone calls. Marie would come home from Jolene's and just shake her head, say, "I don't know what's gotten into her lately." One night, a month or so before Marie died, she was sitting out on the back steps with a glass of wine, just staring at the yard. I joined her, and she didn't say much, just asked, "You ever feel like someone's rewriting the story while you're still living it?" I didn't get it at the time. I thought she meant regrets. The kid stuff, maybe. The health scares, life moving too fast. Now, I know exactly what she meant. Jolene wasn't just the messy sister anymore. She was planning something. Watching Marie's life like it was a Pinterest board, picking out pieces she wanted for herself. By the time that birthday party rolled around, I knew something was off. The way Jolene had looked at me at the funeral, not sad, not even fake mournful, just calculating, like she was already spinning her next story. I showed up late on purpose. Vanessa had called me twice that morning, practically begging. So I grabbed the toy barn I'd picked up at Target and tossed a bottle of aspirin in my jacket pocket. My head already hurt just thinking about the crowd. Jolene's rental was a 2-bedroom box with sagging gutters and weeds in the driveway. I parked out front and walked in, and right away I felt it. That weird hush, people mid-conversation suddenly pausing, just long enough for it to feel wrong. Plastic folding chairs, balloons taped to the ceiling, crock-pot meatballs sweating on the counter. I nodded to a few familiar faces. No one nodded back. Jolene was dressed like she was about to walk a red carpet. Tight red dress, new hair color, darker, curled at the ends. Lipstick that looked like it came with its own fire hazard rating. Overkill for a 5-year-old's party, but that was Jolene. Vanessa was sitting on the edge of the couch, hands in her lap, like she didn't know where to look. When she saw me, she stood up quick. "Hey, Dad, you okay?" "Fine," I said. "Headache. You?" "Same." Then Jolene clapped her hands. "All right, everyone. Before we do cake, I have something I need to share." People shuffled closer. Kids sat down. I stayed near the door. Jolene took center stage, practically glowing. Some of you may already know this, but it's time the truth came out. Tessa's not Rick's daughter. She paused for dramatic effect. She's Dennis's. Dead silence. Then a gasp. My cousin Kathy dropped her soda and didn't even notice. Someone near the punch bowl whispered, "What the hell?" My brother-in-law looked like he was about to blow a blood vessel. I didn't move. Jolene held up a folder. Marie knew. They had a moment 5 years ago, and before she passed, she updated her will. She left half the house to Tessa. She waved it around like she was handing out prizes on game night. "I brought the paperwork," she added, too casual, "in case anyone has questions." Vanessa turned to me, face pale. "Is that true?" I didn't answer. I stepped forward and held out my hand. "Let me see it," I said. Jolene blinked, caught off guard for half a second, then smiled again. "Of course, it's all there." She handed it over, proud as hell. I opened the folder, flipped through the pages. Right away I saw it. Margins wrong, font off, the formatting completely different from the one I'd seen Marie sign with our lawyer. And the signature looked like it had been traced by a child. I snapped the folder shut and handed it back. "Thanks," I said. "We'll talk soon." Then I walked out, past the stunned relatives and Jolene's smug little altar of lies. I didn't run, I didn't shout, I didn't need to. Got in my truck, shut the door, sat in the silence for a second. Then I started laughing. Not the kind of laugh you want to hear in a therapist's office, more like the laugh of a man who's already 10 steps ahead. Because while Jolene thought she'd played her hand, she didn't know the cards Marie and I already laid down years ago. Let her have her moment. Let her feel powerful. She had no clue what was coming. By the time I pulled out of Jolene's driveway, I wasn't just laughing. I was thinking fast. I got home, grabbed a beer, sat at the kitchen table for maybe 5 minutes. Then I got up, walked to the hall closet, and yanked the fireproof box off the top shelf. Dusty, heavy, still sealed with that blue clip Marie had snapped shut herself. Marie didn't trust easily. She wasn't paranoid, just smart. She called it paper armor, said, "People lie, paper doesn't." 2 years earlier, right after our 26th anniversary dinner, she told me what Jolene tried. We were eating downtown, just the three of us, Marie, Jolene, and me. Jolene invited herself last minute, showed up in a low-cut dress, drank half the wine on the table. I stepped outside to take a call from a client. 5 minutes, tops. When I came back, Marie's jaw was set. She didn't say anything until we got home. "She touched your hand," Marie said, "reached across the table when you were laughing and just lingered." I thought she was joking. She wasn't. Next week, Jolene started texting me. "You looked good the other night." Then, "Marie doesn't see how special you are." Then a photo, just her lips, wearing Marie's lipstick. I showed Marie every single one. Her face didn't even change. "We're done with her," she said. "Block her number. No visits unless it's a holiday, and even then, only if there's people around." We stuck to that. Polite from a distance, cold when needed. 6 months later, Marie had to get a full hysterectomy. Cancer scares. Turned out benign, thank God, but it changed everything. No more chances of children. No more, maybe one day. I scheduled a vasectomy the next month. Figured there was no point leaving loose threads. Marie, being Marie, kept every record. Surgery confirmations, discharge notes, follow-up appointments. She even made me write down all the texts Jolene had sent. Not just screenshots, actual transcriptions. "Screens get lost," she said. "Paper stays." Then she sat me down and said, "It's time to update the will." We met with Todd, her lawyer, since before we were married. She laid it out. If anything happened, everything went to me and Vanessa. No mention of Jolene, no clause for Tessa, no loose ends. "I love my sister," she told Todd, "but I don't trust her." The will was signed, notarized, sealed. Marie clipped it inside the folder with my post-op report, her surgical records, and the log of Jolene's texts. She wrote Todd's name and number on the outside in red Sharpie and locked it all in the fireproof box. After the party, I pulled that box out and dumped everything on the table. Timeline, records, texts, real will. Sat down and reread every word. Then I drove straight to Todd's office. He hadn't even heard about the party yet. When I walked in holding that mess of folders and paper, he raised his eyebrows and said, "Hell of a Monday look, Dennis." Wait till you see what I brought, I said. I dumped it on his desk. He started reading, slowly at first, then faster, flipping back and forth between pages, pulling out his yellow legal pad, jotting notes. This, he muttered, holding up the fake will I brought from Jolene, is the worst forgery I've ever seen. Thought so, I said. But I figured it'd be better coming from someone with a law degree. Todd leaned back, tapped his pen against the armrest. You know what this means, right? Yeah, I said. It means she picked the wrong damn family to screw with. Todd didn't waste time. He read every page twice, then leaned back in his chair and said, She's either stupid or desperate. I said, Can it be both? He cracked a half smile and picked up the phone. You mind if I bring in someone else? Bring the whole damn cavalry, I said. He called a guy named Roy, retired cop, now a private investigator. Todd said they'd worked together a few times. Old school, he told me, but thorough. Roy showed up the next morning wearing jeans, a faded button-down, and a limp that told its own story. He had a clipboard under one arm and that kind of face that's always halfway to a smirk. You're the cabinet guy, he said, shaking my hand. You're the cleanup crew. He gave me a nod and started asking questions. Dates, names, anything I remembered about Jolene's behavior over the last year. I told him everything, the party, the texts from years ago, her showing up with Tessa, claiming Rick was the dad, Marie's discomfort near the end. Then Roy disappeared for 4 days. When he came back, he brought a stack of papers that made my stomach turn. Jolene's in deep, he said, dropping the files on Todd's desk. Credit cards maxed out, over 60 grand across 6 accounts. Payday loan default in January. She's 3 months behind on rent. Todd let out a low whistle. And Rick? Roy flipped to another page. Domestic charge in 22. Then he knocked up some girl in Flagstaff and took off last year. No known address, no child support, no job. I stared at the pages. So she's alone, broke, no backup plan. Roy raised an eyebrow. And angry. He handed me a printout of text messages. Jolene to some friend named Mel. She wrote, I'm done watching Marie live like she's better than me. Another, this plan is going to even the score. And the one that made me want to put my fist through the wall. Found Marie's old mortgage docs, signatures close enough, edited a will template at work, should look real enough to rattle him. Todd looked over at me. Well, Dennis, you were right. She's not just lying, she's stealing, trying to rewrite the story, just like Marie feared. I sat there, staring at the evidence. Not just paperwork, not just a bad forgery. This was a full plan, bitter, calculated, desperate. She wasn't trying to claim a child. She was trying to carve her name into Marie's legacy and take a piece of the house on her way out. Hell of a birthday present, I muttered. Roy gave me a look. You want to press charges? Not yet. Why not? I looked at Todd. We do this my way. We confront her, with everything. Let her lie to our faces one more time, while the recorder's running. Todd nodded. We can arrange that? I stood up, picked up the folder with all the dirt inside, and said, Good. Then let's set the trap. I called Jolene the next morning. Todd wants to go over some paperwork. You should come by his office. We need to sort things out. She paused for half a second, then said, Fine. What time? 2 o'clock. Don't be late. She showed up at 2, sharp, heels clicking, big sunglasses, a smug little grin like she'd already moved in. Todd greeted her at the door, professional as ever. Jolene, thanks for coming. Just need you to acknowledge, we'll be recording for legal purposes. That all right? She barely looked at him. Sure, I've got nothing to hide. We sat around a polished oak table, me, Todd, Jolene, and hit record. Todd started. Jolene, you've claimed that Dennis is the biological father of your daughter, Tessa. Can you walk us through your version of events? She leaned back in the chair like it was a throne. Marie came to me one night, said things weren't right between them. She was lonely, vulnerable. She stayed the night at my place. Dennis came by to talk to her and, well, things happened. Todd nodded. When was this exactly? Sometime in April, 5 years ago. Where? My apartment. I was living on Spruce Street. I jumped in. What day? She blinked. What? What day in April? I don't know. A Friday? What was Marie wearing? Jeans, I think. What did she eat? Jolene started to fidget. Why does that matter? It matters because that night, Marie and I were in Duluth. Anniversary weekend. I've got the receipts. Her smile faltered. Well, maybe it was a different time. I pulled the folder out of my bag and slid it across the table. Opened it slowly. Let me help jog your memory. First, the vasectomy paperwork. Dated, signed, with the procedure date, 6 months before Tessa was conceived. See this? I said. I couldn't have kids anymore. Then I laid out Marie's surgical records. Full hysterectomy, confirmed by her OB/GYN. Same timeline. She couldn't either. Jolene's face turned to stone, eyes locked on the paperwork, lips tight, not a word. I reached for the last document, the real will. Signed, notarized, dated, clear as day. Everything goes to me and Vanessa. No mention of Tessa. Not a single word about Jolene. Todd took over. Jolene, what you submitted last week is a forged legal document. You used Marie's signature from old mortgage files and modified a generic will template. We've got the metadata. We've got text messages. Her voice cracked. I was just trying. No, Todd said. You were committing fraud, attempting to steal property through forgery. That's a felony. We could press charges. You could go to jail. She went quiet, cheeks flushed, eyes darting. You have two options, Todd continued. Cooperate, admit the truth, and fix this. Or we proceed through the courts. Jolene looked at me. You set me up. I didn't blink. No, Jolene, you set yourself up. I just brought the paper. She looked down, picked at her nail polish like it was the only thing keeping her from cracking wide open. You could feel the panic kicking in. Not dramatic, quiet, cold, creeping in through the cracks in her act. Todd let the silence hang. I didn't rush it. After a minute, she muttered, What do you want me to do? I looked her dead in the eye. Start by telling the truth. She cracked. Right there in Todd's office, Jolene dropped the act and started crying. Not the loud, messy kind, the quiet, choked kind, like she finally realized the floor was gone and no one was going to catch her. I didn't know what else to do, she said. I'm broke. I've got nothing. Rick bailed. My landlord's threatening eviction. I didn't mean for it to get this far. I didn't flinch. I didn't buy the tears. But I believed the desperation. That much was real. You had every chance to ask for help, I said. Instead, you tried to rob your dead sister's grave. She looked up, mascara streaked across her face. Are you gonna press charges? I shook my head. Not if you make this right. Her voice wobbled. How? So I laid it out. You confess, publicly. You admit Tessa isn't mine. You retract the will, on paper, in front of the family, no spin, no excuses. She nodded barely. And in return, I continued, I'll set up a trust for Tessa, covers her school, medical care, therapy, whatever she needs. Jolene blinked. Seriously? Yes, but there are conditions. You get a job, you go to counseling, you don't screw this up, because if you do, that trust locks down tight. Todd spoke up. And any violation, we reopen everything, including criminal charges. She didn't argue. She just nodded again. That Sunday, I called everyone, my in-laws, my daughter, even Rick's brother, told them to show up for dinner, said, It's not optional. We met at my place, Marie's old dining table, the one we built together years ago. Everyone looked uneasy. Vanessa hadn't said a word since she walked in. Jolene showed up 10 minutes late, hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked normal, tired, real for once. I stood up. Before anyone eats, I said, Jolene has something to say. She stayed standing, hands shaking. I lied, she said. About Dennis, about the will. None of it was true. I was angry, I was drowning, and I tried to take what wasn't mine. I'm sorry. No one said a thing. My daughter looked at her like she didn't recognize the person standing in front of her. My mother-in-law wiped her eyes with a napkin and just whispered, Oh, Marie. Jolene kept going. Tessa's father is Rick. Dennis had nothing to do with it. I forged the documents. It was wrong, and I'm going to make it right. She sat down. Silence hung over the table like a wet tarp. I cleared my throat, looked around. I'm setting up a trust for Tessa because she's innocent in all this. But this is the deal. Jolene works, goes to therapy, stays clean. If she slips, the money locks up. She agrees, we move forward. No police, no court. I let that sink in. Then I said it. Family doesn't mean you get to burn the house down and still expect a seat at the table. No one disagreed. We ate in near silence that night, but the truth was out, and that was more than we'd had in a long time. It's been a year. The grief still hits in waves, especially in the quiet mornings, but the chaos? That's mostly gone. Tessa's trust is doing what it's supposed to. She's in preschool now, gets speech therapy twice a week. I pick her up every Thursday. She calls me Mr. Den. I don't correct her. She likes horses, peanut butter crackers, and asking 50 questions in under a minute. She's a good kid. None of this was her fault. Jolene's working part-time at a dental office across town, filing paperwork, answering phones, clocking in and out like a normal person. No drama, no lies. She sticks to the plan. We talk when we need to, about Tessa's checkups, school stuff, scheduling. That's it. Civil, cold, but functional. And honestly, that's more than I expected. My daughter and I are closer now than we've ever been. We started a tradition, Sunday dinner at my place, every week, no excuses. Sometimes she brings her friends, sometimes we just cook together and eat in front of the TV with our feet up. She helps me run the shop on weekends. Sanded her first cabinet door last month. Nailed it. Marie would have loved that. I set up a community scholarship in Marie's name. Small, local, no fuss. It helps high school kids get certified in trades. Welding, carpentry, plumbing, real skills. Marie always believed not every kid had to go to college to be successful. She believed in people who worked with their hands. So do I. And every spring I still plant daffodils by the back fence. Same spot she picked out 20 years ago. She said they'd be the first thing to bloom, and they always are. Bright yellow, stubborn as hell, pushing up through the cold. This year, they bloomed early. Marie would have smiled at that. Maybe she did. If you're hearing this and you've been through some kind of betrayal, family, friend, whatever, here's what I'll tell you. Get everything in writing. You can love people, you can forgive, but don't ever confuse blood with loyalty. Trust is earned, not owed, not even to family.